There comes a moment in every man's life when he looks at himself and wonders quietly, is this just the price of getting old? But what if I told you that some of the most surprising answers don't come from doctors or medicine, but from real men with real stories? I started listening to men who had lost their strength, their spark, and even their sense of being a man. Yet somehow, they found their way back, not with pills or surgery, but with something as simple as 3 fruits each morning. If you're interested in natural male health, better blood flow, and renewed vitality without medication, then subscribe to iShareManhood right now. And make sure to watch this video until the end, because missing just one small detail might mean missing the very thing that could change your life. I'm Thomas. I'm 60 years old. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a regular man trying to stay healthy, clear-minded, and stay balanced. I read a lot, but more importantly, I listen. These are real voices from real men who quietly shared what aging had done to their bodies and their confidence. They talked about losing their strength, losing their spark, feeling like they were no longer truly themselves. And then something changed. A few of them started over from a very simple place. They didn't chase the next drug. They went back to their own kitchen. And every morning, they began again with a bowl of fruit. This video is about those men. Their stories became my guide, and maybe they can become yours too. Before we go any further, I'd love to know where are you watching from today. If you feel like it, drop your city, state, or country in the comments below. No pressure, just a small way to remind each other that we're not alone. This space is here for real men walking real journeys quietly, steadily, and together. Story 1. George, a 63-year-old retired mailman from Georgia, once shared a message with me that stuck in my mind ever since. He said, "Yes, I used to have these fruits in the morning with blueberries and cherries. So about plantain and sweet potatoes, that's my usual combination breakfast. Okay, from now on, I'll just use that 3 fruits you mentioned to get my nitric oxide and tryptophan." Let's take a closer look at why these simple fruits, sweet potatoes, bananas, blueberries, and cherries are often part of a powerful morning routine for men over 60. Studies published in the Journal of Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition show that regular consumption of beta-carotene-rich vegetables, like sweet potatoes, is linked to healthier hormone levels in aging men at large. Steamed sweet potato doesn't just fill you up, it gives your body over 1,700 micrograms of vitamin, and mostly from beta-carotene. That's crucial for immune health, vision, and hormone balance in aging men. It also provides about 855 milligrams of potassium, which helps keep your blood pressure steady and your muscles functioning smoothly. Now let's talk about bananas. One medium banana delivers around 400 milligrams of potassium. Along with vitamin B6 and vitamin C, these support your nervous system, energy metabolism, and antioxidant defenses, and that matters especially if you're aiming for calm, steady energy throughout the day without relying on caffeine. Then we've got blueberries and cherries. They're rich in natural antioxidants called anthocyanins. These compounds don't just give the fruit its deep color. They also support blood vessel health and help your body produce nitric oxide, a molecule that supports circulation and stamina, especially in men past 60. Some studies have even shown that regular intake of these berries may reduce the risk of erectile dysfunction by up to 10% in older men. We're not talking about miracle cures. We're talking about real food, simple fruit combinations that support prostate health, boost natural energy, and help build long-term vitality after 60. So when a man says, "Yes, I used to have these fruits in the morning with blueberries and cherries, plantain and sweet potatoes, that's my usual combination breakfast," he's not just sharing a meal. He's sharing a habit that may be doing more for his health than he ever imagined. Have you tried these kind of breakfast before? Drop a comment and let us know what works for your morning routine. And if you find this content helpful, subscribe to iShareManhood for more real stories and natural health tips made for men like you. Story 2. The next story comes from Emmanuel, a 66-year-old man living in southern Nigeria. He's the kind of man who doesn't complain. He asks questions, looks for better ways, and still cares about his body. Emmanuel wrote to thank us for a talk on weak circulation and male vitality, and then he shared something real. He said avocados, bananas, eggs, watermelon, carrots, peanuts are available here in southern Nigeria, but pomegranate is very scarce. I go to pee at night several times. I've been taking Flower Plus since 2019 for prostate and amlodipine for blood pressure, he asked. An honest question, will eating eggs every day raise my cholesterol? Emmanuel's story reminds us of something important. That natural foods for prostate health aren't always about finding a rare superfruit. Sometimes it's about what's available, affordable, and already in your kitchen. Bananas, a steady source of potassium, approximately 400 milligrams per medium banana, which helps manage blood pressure, crucial when you're also taking medication like amlodipine. They also support calm energy levels without caffeine. Avocados, high in monounsaturated fats. Potassium, nearly 975 milligrams per fruit, and vitamin E, all of which contribute to blood flow, libido support, and heart health for men over 60. According to the American Heart Association, dietary fats from avocado don't raise LDL cholesterol when eaten in moderation. Eggs, rich in choline, vitamin B12, and protein. Eggs help support hormonal production. And recent studies, including a 2020 review published in Nutrients, show that for most people, eating up to 1 egg per day does not significantly raise cholesterol or heart disease risk, especially when combined with an overall healthy diet. Watermelon contains citrulline, an amino acid that supports nitric oxide production, aiding circulation and erectile function. This aligns with research from Texas A&M University on watermelon's role in natural blood flow support. Peanuts and carrots, these are easy sources of fiber, healthy fats, and antioxidants, all contributing to men's wellness after 60. Pomegranate may be scarce in his region, but the goal isn't one magic fruit, it's consistency in using what's available. Story 3. Michael is a 67-year-old former writer from coastal Maine in his younger years. He dreamed of changing the world, of shaping minds through his words. But time softens even the strongest ambition. When he reached out to me, he shared something that stayed with me. When I was younger, I wanted to change the world. Now, I just want to live without regret, love without clinging, and live gently when it's time. That's not a weakness. That's what I call emotional resilience for men. The kind that grows after loss, after trying, after forgiving yourself. He added something else. This video touched something quiet in me, and I think I know what he meant. For men like Michael, it's not about fixing what's broken. It's about aging with peace, letting go of what never really mattered, and holding tight to what still does, not chasing youth, but choosing clarity, not surviving, but learning to sit with yourself in stillness. That's the core of men's mental health after 60, and honestly, it's something many of us never learned when we were young. Michael may never publish another book, but in that one message, he wrote something more important, a reminder that even when the world stops listening, your voice still matters. That's the kind of truth we're collecting here on iShareManhood. Real men, real stories, told without shame, without polish, but with honesty and quiet meaning. And if Michael can say, I want to live with no regret, then maybe you can too. Story 4. Samuel is a 68-year-old cook from Florida. He spent decades in hot kitchens and long shifts, always feeding others before feeding himself. But 2 years ago, his body started saying no. He was overwhelmed by stress, constant aches, and worst of all, those palpitations in his chest sharp, unsettling, impossible to ignore. He told me, I suffered a lot in all of these things you are talking, that stress, that pains. Palpitation of my heart. The way he wrote it in filtered and raw hit me hard. But then he added something that changed the tone completely. For the past 18 months, I rested and ate the best, and today I am far better, plus 2 years older. That sentence says more than it seems. Rest, eat better, grow older, get stronger. That's not just recovery. That's what I call aging with power. He didn't mention pills or protocols. He didn't name superfoods or routines. What he did say was simple. He made a choice to slow down, to take care of himself, to let his body respond in its own time. And honestly, that mindset, that quiet return to balance, is the foundation of natural vitality after 60. Most men I know feel guilty even saying the word rest, but what Samuel did, that's not a weakness. That's real masculinity, the kind that knows when to pause, the kind that respects the long game. Here on iShareManhood, that's the kind of story I'll always share. Not because it's flashy, but because it's true. Emotional resilience for men doesn't start with noise, it starts with silence. With one man choosing to breathe again. Story 5. Albert is a 54-year-old former maintenance worker from Detroit. We've exchanged a few messages over the past year, but one of them stopped me completely. He wrote, after the devastating CKD attack, I lost all energy for intimacy for the past 15 years. He wasn't dramatic. He wasn't seeking pity. He was just honest. For those who don't know, CKD means chronic kidney disease, a long-term condition where the kidneys slowly stop working. It affects energy, hormones, blood pressure, and for many men, it takes away more than just physical strength. Albert continued, my penis lies there dormant, not even raising its head to urinate in the morning. I sat with that line for a long time. Most men would never say something like that, not even to a doctor. But Albert wrote it to a stranger, and it was real. Then he added something that made my chest tighten. I admire my wife's patience all these years by tolerating my sickness. He didn't call her perfect. He didn't use poetic words. He just saw her. 15 years of physical distance. 15 years of silence in the most intimate part of their marriage. And she stayed. This isn't just a story about illness. It's a story about marriage after 60, where love no longer proves itself through desire, but through presence. And I think that's what a lot of us fear. Not just losing function, but losing our sense of masculine identity. That's why I share stories like Albert's. Because sexual health after isn't always about getting it back. Sometimes it's about holding onto your dignity even when nothing else responds. Sometimes the most masculine thing a man can do is thank the woman who didn't leave. Here on iShareManhood, we don't filter out the hard parts. We honor them because real men, especially the aging ones, carry grief quietly and still show up anyway. Story 6. Richard is a 61-year-old retired machine repairman from El Paso, Texas. He spent decades tightening bolts, lifting steel, and crawling under equipment before sunrise. Work that wears on a man. These days, it's his own body that needs repairing. He told me his pain doesn't take breaks. Almost constant pain, he said, in my arms, hands, and legs. But Richard didn't write to complain. He wrote with intention. I will try this formula as soon as I can get to the grocery store, he told me. Then quietly added, hopefully it will help with this as well. That sentence stuck with me. Not for how loud it was, but for how much hope it carried. This is a man who hasn't given up. A man still looking. I don't know exactly what formula he meant, but I thought of something we don't talk about much: kiwi. Small, green, fuzzy on the outside, but inside, packed with what matters: over 90 milligrams of vitamin C per 100 grams. That's more than an orange, and kiwi contains actinitin, a natural enzyme that may help reduce inflammation, ease digestion, and support muscle recovery. One study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that daily kiwi consumption reduced oxidative stress and improved joint comfort in older adults. When I shared that with Richard, he just nodded. He hadn't eaten a kiwi since his kids were in school. But maybe that's the point. Sometimes the best things aren't new. They're just forgotten. Here on iShareManhood, we're not selling magic. We're sharing what's real, natural anti-inflammatory fruits, simple tools, and the quiet stories of men who refuse to accept pain as their final chapter. Because healing doesn't always begin in a clinic. Sometimes it starts with a walk to the grocery store. Marco is a 65-year-old former truck driver from Nevada, is on Story 7 of mine. One day, he sent me a message that I'll never forget. He wrote, "I had a really bad ulcer. I didn't know what it was. I asphyxiated and couldn't breathe. I tapped hard on the wall and said my last prayer. Those words stopped me." But he wasn't done. And then he thought, "After my short prayer, I thought I'm gonna die. I thought I can't breathe because vomit was stuck in my throat. I knew I was running out of time and thought, if I can't inhale and I will die, why not try to breathe in?" So I did and instantly was able to breathe. That breath saved his life. But this story didn't end there. He continued, "Anyway, I went to the doctor and got an upper GI with anesthesia. I was prescribed protonics and had very sharp liver pains, then switched to Nexium. Later I found out about the ulcer and hernia. And then came the part most men wouldn't dare say out loud. Anyways, after that I had ED, it never went away. That was 12 years ago. So the anesthesia or proton pump inhibitors or both ruined me." At iShareManhood, we share stories like Marco's not to dramatize, not to scare, but to tell the truth. Because there are men out there who carry pain quietly, who wonder if they're the only ones. They're not. Marco survived. But what changed him wasn't just the ulcer. It was what came after. The silence, the loss, and the courage to speak up 12 years later. Story 8. Some of the strongest men I've known never said much. And some of the most heartbreaking truths didn't come from men at all. They came from their wives. This story comes from a quiet comment, but it stayed with me for days. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. She wrote, "My husband is 62 and has CKD. For the last 11 years, I have listened to him get up every night, groaning from the pain. But he won't talk about it. He said to me, 'You wouldn't understand.' So I stopped asking. He won't eat fruit. He won't take supplements. He just waits. Sometimes I think I'm grieving a man who's still alive." Then she added, "I just wanted to say thank you for giving me words I couldn't find." CKD means chronic kidney disease. But what it steals from a man is more than numbers on a lab report. It takes his energy, his drive, his sense of control. And over time it takes his ability to connect. But the wife, she loses something too. She loses the man she once talked to. She loses the hope that things might change. And worst of all, she loses the chance to help because he won't let her in. At iShareManhood, we often talk about what aging does to men's bodies: testosterone, blood flow, energy. But we rarely talk about what it does to their marriages, their quiet spaces, their emotional worlds. There are fruits that help support aging kidneys. There are routines that gently improve circulation and reduce inflammation. But none of it matters if the man himself has given up. Frank didn't ask for help, but his wife did. So if you're watching this and you've been suffering in silence, or you've stopped believing anything can help, let this be your sign. Someone still sees you. Someone still waits for the day you choose to fight again. Not for her. Not for medicine, but for yourself. Story 9. Let me tell you about Anthony, a 65-year-old retired electrical technician from Trinidad. He shared this with me not in anger, but with honest confusion. I have a kidney problem, and I was suggested eating bananas and avocado will harm me more than good because of my kidney issues and low heart rate and my egg test. The CT scan shows that I have a heart enlargement and a low ECG. Tell me, are avocados and bananas good for me? Is there no other fruit to replace, or should I go on and take it? I could feel the weight in his words. This wasn't just about fruit. It was about safety, about survival. For a man with chronic kidney disease, what helps others might hurt him. His heart rate is slow. His heart is enlarged. He is already fighting for balance. He doesn't want to gamble with the wrong nutrients. So I told him, try berries, especially blueberries. They're naturally low in potassium, only about 77 milligrams per 100 grams, and rich in polyphenols, which support circulation, brain health, and vascular protection, without putting extra strain on the kidneys. According to Harvard Health Publishing, the benefits of berries for brain and circulation. 2021, Anthony wasn't looking for miracle food. He just wanted to know if he still had a path forward. And the answer is yes. This is what real men's health after 60 looks like. Not one-size-fits-all advice, but careful, honest decisions tailored to your condition. On iShareManhood, we honor these questions because they're not just nutritional, they're deeply human. When a man says, "Is there no other fruit?" he's really asking, do I still have options? And I want every man to hear this. Yes, you do. It's high time to wrap up the real lives of 9 different men. Story 1 was George, a 63-year-old retired mailman from Georgia. He found quiet strength in a simple morning habit, eating blueberries, cherries, plantain, and sweet potatoes for him. It wasn't just breakfast. It was how he rebuilt circulation, energy, and purpose without pills. Story 2 came from Emmanuel, a 66-year-old man in southern Nigeria. He didn't have access to superfruits, but he had avocados, bananas, eggs, watermelon, peanuts, and carrots. And he used what was available to manage prostate issues and blood pressure, reminding us that natural health begins in your own kitchen. Story 3 introduced Michael, a 67-year-old former writer from coastal Maine. He didn't talk about food. He talked about peace after a lifetime of ambition. He now just wants to live with no regret, love without clinging, and live gently when it's time. For Michael, Maine's mental health after 60 means letting go of shame and learning how to be still. Story 4 was Samuel, a 68-year-old cook from Florida. He spent years in stress and physical exhaustion until his body forced him to stop. He didn't take pills. He chose rest, nourishment, and space, and in doing so, he aged with power. Because real masculinity means knowing when to pause. Story 5 came from Albert, a 64-year-old retired maintenance worker in Detroit. He's lived with chronic kidney disease for 11 years, and with it, the slow loss of sexual function. His words were raw. My penis lies there dormant. But even more powerful was his tribute to his wife. She stayed through the silence, through the distance. That's love after 60. Story 6 introduced Richard, a 61-year-old machine repairman from El Paso. His pain is constant. Arms, legs, hands. But he's still hopeful. When he heard kiwi might help inflammation, he said he'd give it a try. Not because he believed in magic, but because he believes in trying, and sometimes that's enough. Story 7 came from Marco, a 65-year-old former truck driver in Nevada. He survived a near-death ulcer attack, got diagnosed with hernia, and developed it that never went away. His story is a reminder that what breaks us isn't always the event itself, but the silence that follows. Still, Marco spoke up 12 years later, and his voice matters. Story 8 wasn't from a man at all. It came from the wife of a 62-year-old man with kidney disease. For 15 years, she listened to him groan in pain, shut her out, and give up on his own health. Sometimes I think I'm grieving a man who's still alive, she wrote. It's a story not just about illness, but about emotional loss and the people who wait quietly beside us. Story 9 was Anthony, a 65-year-old retired electrical technician from Trinidad. He asked a simple question: are bananas and avocados safe for me? With a slow heart rate and kidney issues, he couldn't afford to guess. So we talked about safer fruits like blueberries, low in potassium, high in protection. Because for men like Anthony, real health means personalized choices, not one-size-fits-all advice. Each of these men and the women who stand by them share something deeper than symptoms. They share honesty, courage, and the quiet hope that life after 60 still holds meaning. Here on iShareManhood, we don't offer hype, we offer truth, real men, real struggles. Real stories shared so that no one has to suffer in silence. And if you saw yourself in any one of these stories, you're not alone. We're building something here, and we'd be honored if you stayed. Before we close, I want to make one thing clear. This video was created by iShareManhood, based entirely on real stories and lived experiences from men over 60. While we use AI visuals to help explain things clearly, the health insights here are grounded in personal journeys and publicly available science, not medical advice. We don't speak for doctors. We speak from the quiet strength of men who've been there. If this series touched something in you, if even one story felt familiar, then I hope you'll subscribe, not just for more tips, but for more truth. Every week, we bring new voices, new questions, and simple, powerful ways to rebuild health naturally. No hype, no shame, no pills pushed, just real men, real hope, and a space that finally understands what aging actually feels like. This is iShareManhood, and we're just getting started.